see if anybody has had a chance to work on their recruitment assignment from last week. Anybody have any questions about it? Yes, Damien? All right. Sorry, I got a new computer, so I'm trying to figure, it's an Apple, and this is my first time with an Apple computer. Yeah.
I'm chicken, that's why.
I got things going on all over the place. I'm trying to organize them here. All right. So anybody have any questions with the recruitment activity? I know that a couple of you guys have turned it in. Just keep working with it. Have some fun with it, like I said, and like MJ said. If you turn it in, we can get you a prize. I think it was an Amazon gift card.
Yep.
So. And
Janice, I think you sent me an email. I did see that yesterday about the Amazon gift cards, and I will be sending them. I'll get caught up tonight with all of those. Okay.
Perfect. So today, anything else that you want to add from last week, MJ? If not, we can just start talking about. Okay. So today is the start of the EMS portion of Ready Camp. And today we're going to be talking about triaging. And you guys have learned about a little bit about triaging in the past, right? I know Jordan probably has coming to camp before, right? Yeah. So I got this this video. It's a pretty old video, but it still covers the real basics of how to triage patients. And again, it keeps it really simple so that you just have to remember three things, and it's RPM. Respiration, perfusion, and mental status. So it'll explain in the video what all that stuff means, and then after that, I've got like six different scenarios that we can read, and then have you guys try to categorize the made-up patients. Sound good? So I will try and get this up on my screen here. There's that. Let me get to this.
Every multi-casualty incident is a race against time.
Everybody see it?
When many people are injured, how we respond can make the difference between how many victims survive and how many die. START, the simple triage and rapid treatment system, enables rescuers to do the most good for the greatest number of victims in the shortest amount of time. START training will help you save lives.
This guy's pretty dramatic.
Triage is a system for sorting victims so the most seriously injured can be treated and transported first. Most rescue plans call for triage in a multi-casualty incident, but they don't tell you how to do it. We will. In this video, we'll help you learn START, simple triage and rapid treatment. Your START training will enable you to take charge when you're faced with many casualties and time is critical. START training will teach you how to do three important things. What to do when you first arrive at a multi-casualty incident, how to assess an injured victim in less than a minute so that you can prioritize victims into one of 4 treatment categories. In this video, we'll use a triage tag with 4 categories: minor, delayed, immediate, and deceased. Each category is a different color. The colored strips are removed, so the last color remaining on the tag shows the patient's classification. Triage identification may be different in your region, and you should familiarize yourself with the method used in your community. Any professional or non-professional with first aid training can learn and use the START methods. Get ready. Get set. Let's start.
Newport Engine 5, Newport Medic 3, respond to a traffic collision with injuries, grid 39, Avocado and Coast Highway.
It sounds like a routine call, but are you prepared to respond to something like this?
Central Net, Newport Engine 5 at scene, 2-vehicle traffic collision, auto versus a transit bus. Stand by for additional resources. Norm, handle fire control. Pull a pre-connect.
Safety measures are your first priority.
Alan, I want you to make access to the bus and start patient triage.
We got 2 people in the car. We got about 20 to 30 in the bus.
Okay. Central Net Newport Engine 5 assigned 3 medical task forces and 1 truck company.
The company officer calls for additional resources and will continue to evaluate the scene. The START method is the answer to the first responder's question, what do I do now?
Okay, help's here. Need you to back away from the glass as much as you can. Cover your faces. Cover your face. I need everybody to stand up and walk. Everybody stand up and walk outside here. Walk outside. Over to the curb. Walk over to the curb. How are you two doing? Okay. I need you guys to stick around to help me, so just wait right here, okay? Are you able to walk it off? Stay right there. I'm coming. Okay, I'm gonna need one of your help. I repositioned this airway. I need you just to make sure it stays in that position, okay? He's breathing on his own now. Maintain that airway. Great. Okay, I'm gonna need your help right here. Okay, she's bleeding pretty bad. I need you to hold pressure on that leg over there. Just put as much pressure as you can. I need you to stop the bleeding. You know your name? What happened? You know your name? You know what happened? What's your name? Jan, do you know what happened, Jan? Okay. You just stay right here. We got additional help coming, okay?
This firefighter has just triaged 15 injured people in less than 3 minutes. 9 people were categorized as minor injuries because they were able to walk away without help. It took less than 30 seconds each to assess, categorize, and tag the other 6. With START, you can confidently triage patients so the most seriously injured can be treated and transported first.
That was part 1. And here's part 2.
Now let's return to the bus accident and learn how to use the START techniques.
I need everybody who can stand up and walk to do so. You just stand up and walk outside here over to the curb.
It is important to clear the scene of as many minor injuries as you can. Direct victims who can walk to a specific destination nearby and tell them to stay there. By asking the walking wounded to leave, the rescuer has just triaged 9 victims into the minor injury category in a matter of seconds.
How are you two doing? Okay. I need you guys to stick around to help me, so just wait right here, okay?
Non-injured bystanders can be used as a resource to help provide basic first aid to those who are injured. This is part of the rapid treatment that takes place during initial triage. What victim gets your attention first? The unconscious child? The man covered in blood? The hysterical bus driver? Because you have no way of knowing at a glance who and where the most critically injured victims are, you start where you stand. Patient assessment begins as soon as the walking wounded have been directed away from the scene. The START assessment is simple and easy to learn. It only has 3 steps. RPM. Respiration, perfusion, mental status. RPM. When you're facing a multi-casualty incident and you're all revved up, just remember RPM. Now we'll learn how to use RPM to assess each patient in about 30 seconds. Respiration is the first assessment because it is the most critical function. If the patient is not breathing because of an obstructed airway, attempt to clear the airway. Depending on the type of obstruction, either reposition the patient's head or remove any debris that may be lodged in the throat. While repositioning an injured patient's head may be contrary to what you've learned about cervical stabilization, Dr. Greg Super explains how to handle a patient who's unconscious and not breathing.
If we do nothing, he's a certain field death. If we open his airway, we may aggravate an existing cervical spine fracture. We chose to make that intervention. If we open his airway, he makes attempts to breathe, and we can keep that airway open, he may have a chance to survive. If we leave the airway closed, he has no chance.
If respiration cannot be reestablished with these simple measures, don't waste time attempting CPR.
The first rescuer's basic instinct might be to begin CPR on the first one he encounters. That would be a mistake. These people die. If the first rescuer goes to CPR on the first victim he finds in full arrest, he will not be available to help those who still have a chance at living.
Non-breathing patients are considered non-salvageable and are categorized deceased. Move to the next patient.
Okay, you need help over here. Need you help support his head. Okay, just like this. Need you to help keep his airway open. Just like that, okay? Great. Don't let the airway close.
If the patient begins breathing after the airway has been cleared, categorize immediate and move to the next patient.
Rolling.
To assess respiration on a patient who is breathing, observe the frequency of respirations. Patients who are breathing at a rate of more than 30 respirations per minute are categorized immediate and no further assessment is done. Move on to the next patient. Although you won't take time to actually count respirations, you can become skilled in visual assessment by watching others simulate rapid breathing. With practice, you will be able to easily differentiate between a person who is breathing faster than 30 respirations per minute and one who is breathing at a normal rate. If a patient is breathing slower than 30 respirations per minute, proceed to the next assessment, perfusion. Here's how the respiration assessment looks on the START flowchart. If the patient is not breathing, reposition the airway. If breathing does not resume, the patient is non-salvageable and is categorized deceased. If breathing resumes after you clear the airway, categorize the patient immediate. Patients who are breathing at a rate of more than 30 respirations per minute are categorized immediate and no further assessment is done. If the patient's respiration is slower than 30 respirations per minute, proceed to the second assessment, perfusion. In a multi-casualty setting, the capillary refill test is the fastest and most effective way to check perfusion or circulation. To do this, press down on the patient's nail bed and release the pressure. The skin underneath the nail should return to normal color within 2 seconds if perfusion is adequate. If it takes longer than 2 seconds, categorize immediate and move to the next patient. The radial pulse can also indicate perfusion status. If you cannot feel a pulse, the systolic blood pressure has probably fallen below 80. The patient's legs should be elevated to improve blood flow to the heart, lungs, and brain, and the patient categorized immediate.
Put as much pressure you can on there. I need you to stop her bleeding, okay?
In situations where a patient has severe external bleeding, direct the patient or a bystander to apply pressure to the wound. If the patient has adequate perfusion, proceed to the third assessment to check mental status. On the START flowchart, the perfusion assessment looks like this. Check capillary refill by pressing down on the patient's nail bed. If color does not return within 2 seconds, categorize the patient immediate. Elevate the legs and control bleeding if necessary. If the patient has adequate perfusion, the nail bed capillaries will refill within 2 seconds and you will proceed to the third and final assessment, mental status.
What's your name?
Brain injury accounts for half of the deaths in disasters. Patients with altered mental status are categorized immediate.
Okay?
You may have already observed the patient's mental status during the first 2 assessments. If the patient is unable to respond to simple questions or commands, categorize immediate.
My leg over here, my leg. Oh God, I think it's
Okay,
broken.
just relax, just relax. Okay, you're breathing fine, you're breathing fine.
Get me out of here. Please, my leg really hurts. It really
Okay, you've got a
hurts.
good pulse, you've got a good strong
Please,
pulse. What's your name?
Jan.
Okay, Jan, what day is it?
Friday.
Friday, good,
Please,
okay.
it hurts. Oh God.
We're firemen are coming, okay? We'll get you out of here as soon as possible.
Hurry.
All right, I've got help coming.
If the patient can follow simple commands, categorize delayed and move to the next patient. Here's the mental status assessment on the START flowchart. If the patient fails to respond to simple questions or commands, categorize immediate. If the patient can follow commands, categorize delayed and move to the next patient. The delayed category does not mean the patient is not injured and does not need treatment. It means the patient isn't at high risk of early death. As you have seen, every patient is triaged and categorized depending on the need for medical attention at the time of assessment. Immediate patients need to leave the scene as soon as transportation arrives. For patients awaiting transport, a second, more thorough field assessment will be done by qualified personnel. They will update the patient's condition and provide further treatment. You have just seen how quickly and efficiently you can use START triage to rapidly categorize and treat patients. When you're one of the first rescuers at a multi-casualty incident, your START training ensures your efforts do the most good for the most people. In this video, you have learned how to direct the walking wounded away from the scene to reduce the number of patients you need to assess, how to use bystanders for rapid treatment of severely injured patients, how to start where you stand to begin patient assessment, how to use RPM to rapidly assess a patient's respiration, perfusion, and mental status, and how to use a triage tag as a method of categorizing patients.
The START plan is the answer to the first responder's question, what do I do now? He has 2 critical things to accomplish. The first is to find those victims most likely to die at the scene, and the second is to bring medical organization to the scene.
START is a time-saving, life-saving way to prioritize and help patients who are in the greatest danger of dying. When every second counts, the START system wins the race against time.
All right. Anybody have any questions about that? So what we can do now is I have some scenarios that we can kind of go through. Can you guys see the document? Yeah? Okay. So we can read through this, and then if you guys want to try to answer it, that would be great. Like they said in the video, those triage tags, this is a triage tag that we have from Oregon. It looks a little bit different than what was in the video. But you can see that right here is actually the START. So we would answer the exact same thing. Here's RPM, and we would just, if there's respirations, check yes. If there's perfusion, if it's less than or greater than 2 seconds, and then also the mental status. Can do, can't do. Okay, so we're just checking to see where the patient is, and then based on how we assess the patient, if they're breathing over 30 breaths per minute, then that patient's automatically considered red. Does that make sense? They're breathing really, really fast, okay? If their perfusion is greater than 2 seconds, then that means, and if you don't see any type of bleeding, that means they can have internal bleeding. So if you do, like they said in the video, you can squeeze on, even if you squeeze on your nail bed, just kind of curl your hand in like this. If you squeeze on your nail bed, you're basically squeezing all the blood off underneath your fingernail. And then when you release it, within 2 seconds, it should turn back to pink. You can also squeeze an earlobe. You can take your thumb and put it right in the center of their forehead. That's going to turn white when you apply pressure. Within 2 seconds, it should come back to that pink color. So that's the perfusion. And then the last one is mental status. You want to check to find out what's going on with the person, if they can answer your questions appropriately, because in an emergency, you know, they could have taken a hit to the head or anything that could have caused their mental status to go down. And if they're not answering the questions appropriately, if you ask them who they are and they tell you Batman, you can pretty much assume that there's a problem, okay? Like it has here on the bottom, if this is contaminated, this is new to ours. So if the person's contaminated, we take that off, we attach the person. And if you look, these things are, documentation is really important. So you can see the little barcode on there. That barcode is the same as all of these barcodes, which is the same as this barcode here. There's a barcode here. There's a barcode up here. So no matter what, each time that you rip off a piece of this tag and either take it to the hospital or you send it someplace else. Yes.
Tom, we can't see the barcode.
Oh.
We see the scenarios.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here showing you guys all this tag or this thing, and I'm thinking I'm doing a great job, but you guys can't.
Oh, that's okay.
You're seeing the document, aren't you?
That's something that I would do.
Okay, sorry. I can see myself, but you guys can't see me. Okay, so let's go. I'll show you guys the card here in a minute. Let's go over the scenarios. So you have a 32-year-old female complaining of right arm pain. After looking at her arm, she has a bad deformity. So a deformity would be like a broken arm or something like that. Her respirations are 28. Her perfusion is less than 2 seconds. And then her mental status is she's alert and she's talking to you. So what do you think you would triage her as? Minor, delayed, immediate, or deceased? Any guesses? And MJ, I can't see their responses. So if you want to see what they're texting.
No chats yet. Delayed.
Okay. Yes, they would be delayed. And the reason why they're delayed is because as far as their RPM, they're fine, right? But they have a deformity on the arm, and the deformity needs to be fixed. We can't fix that in the field. We can't straighten out the bones. We can't put casts on and stuff like that. So she probably has a broken arm, and she needs to go to the hospital, but it's not life-threatening. So she's going to be delayed, and we're going to put the immediate or the red classified patients before her. So good job. So you have a 50, yeah.
Jordan brought up a good point though in the chat. She said if she can get up and walk, then she's a minor.
Yep, she is.
Green.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. She could be green, but the thing is that she definitely has to get her arm fixed. She can't leave her arm with the deformity as it is. So she definitely would have to go to the hospital, but not right away. But if she follows command and all that good stuff, then absolutely she could be green. The good thing about triage, it's always changing. It's a constant. You're constantly going back to it. So every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depend upon what they're classified as. You can keep going back and checking on the patient. And someone that was a yellow may turn into a red, or someone that's a yellow may go to green. So if she's up and she's walking, you can definitely give her a green. But later on, then the swelling kicks in and she has her deformity is even worse. Then she needs to go to the hospital. But we're going to move her up to a yellow, but saving the immediate transport for the people that are classified as red. Does that make sense? Okay. So the next one, we have a 58. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, so we have a 58-year-old male who's unresponsive. After a quick head-to-toe assessment, you find a large cut on the back of his head. His respirations are 8. His perfusion is greater than 2 seconds, and his mental status, he's not alert or talking, and he's not talking. What do you guys think? What's the one that's automatically going to pop out at you?
Immediate.
Immediate, yes, because it's the perfusion, right? Anything greater than 2 is considered immediate. Any respirations greater than 30 is it doesn't matter what's going on, it's automatically a immediate, okay? And mental status, if they're not able to respond or answer your questions, it's immediate, okay? Good. So you have a 16-year-old female complaining of a cut on her finger. Her respirations are 14, perfusion is less than 2, Her mental status, she's screaming due to the drop of blood on her new pants.
Minor.
Minor, yes. Not a big deal, right? It seems like you can get her a Band-Aid and a washcloth, and she'll be fine. Good job. So the next one, you have a 23-year-old female patient complaining of left thigh pain. After a quick assessment of her thigh, you find a bullet entrance wound. Her respirations are 33. Perfusion is greater than 2. And she just she's alert and complaining of about the pain. What would she be classified as?
Immediate because of the high respirations, Jordan says.
Absolutely, yep.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like when you can get to one of those 3 that you know is a trigger as immediate, it doesn't matter what the rest of them are, okay? You have an 84-year-old male complaining of not being able to hear. His respirations are 18. His perfusion is greater than 2. His mental status just repeats himself, what? I can't hear you.
Immediate.
Immediate, and it's because of the perfusion. Absolutely. His mental status may be because he forgot his hearing aids, or it might be the only thing that's processing through his mind because his mind's not working correctly. I mean, he is 84, but you really got to look at all the indicators. Like I said, the mental status may be normal because of his age, but again, because the fusion is greater than 2, that's what you want to see, and you want to treat him as a immediate. And like I said, if you find out later that his hearing aid fell out, and you find it, you give it to him, and he's fine, then you can take then you can obviously change how that patient is classified. The last one, you have a 6-year-old male complaining he can't find his mommy. Respirations are 22. Perfusion is less than 2. Mental status, he's crying, but he's answering your questions properly.
Minor.
A minor. Yep. Perfect. Let me get rid of this so I can see you guys, or you guys can see me. Yes, good job, Damien.
Yeah, everyone did a great job.
Yes. Okay, can you guys see me now?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the tag that I was showing you guys. Like I said, this is the one that we have in Oregon, and here is the start portion of the tag, and then on the back side of it is where barcodes. We also have the barcodes here and up here, and the reason is because whoever has one of these tags, they've had the patient. Whoever this triage tag was attached to, that's who they have accountability for that patient. So again, if we walked up to somebody like the 84-year-old gentleman, we can go up to him, and because his perfusion was greater than 2, what we would do is we can tear off the bottom 2. And now when you quickly look at this tag, he is classified as immediate. So if we go back and reassess him, we can't glue this back on, but we can give him a new tag And if we feel that he is now coming around and maybe at delayed, then we would give him another tag, okay? But again, he would be first classified based on the RPM as immediate. If we go back and the 84-year-old man is no longer, he had a head injury with massive bleeding on the inside that we couldn't see, we go back and we check him again and he has no perfusion, he's not breathing, then we would just simply tear the red off and then he'd be deceased. There is, in Dane County, we have a new way of triaging, and we use these tags, but if it's a large event, like a school event or a large auditorium or something that we're going and triaging, they give us rolls of tape. And we have these colors for like ribbons. And what we would do is we'd use the ribbons and we would tie it on the person. So they're not tags like this, it's just a ribbon. And that's where we would triage them and then take them to the treatment area, and then they would get a proper tag later. But there's an added color, it's a gray. Now the gray, as morbid as it sounds, is that if you go up to somebody and because of their RPM, they are still breathing, but it's really shallow. Their perfusion is greater than 2, and their respirations are like 6 or 3, probably 3. They are immediate based on that, right? But what we can do in the field is not going to help them. So we'd actually classify them as a gray. And the gray means that they're expecting to pass or to go to black. So the next time that we go and assess that person that's gray, we would check them again. And if they weren't still with us, we would just take the gray off and put the black on there. Does that make sense? And what that would do is we would then focus our efforts, because again, the goal of Ready is to do the greatest good for the greatest number of people in the shortest amount of time. We would focus right here is on the red, okay? And then once all the reds are taken care of, then what we would do is focus on the grays, people that we're expecting to pass. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. Any questions?
Damien says that is very interesting. Or if they were better than red too.
Yes. Yep. Like I said, you're constantly reassessing your patients. So we talked about search and rescue, right? Yeah, we talked about search and rescue. I've done a lot of videos. So we talked about search and rescue, and we talked about how if we would go in and search and then we would find some victims, what we would do is we would triage them like right in the room if it was considered to be a safe area to do so, okay? And then once they're triaged in the room, we would have teams go in there, grab the patients, and carry them with the blanket drags or carries to the treatment area. Once they're in the treatment area, so they put all the greens in one area, all the yellows in one area, all the reds in one area, and you would assign the amount of people taking care of them based on how many people are in there. So if you have a limited number of resources, but you have a lot of patients, you might only have 1 to 2 people taking care of all these, a number of these patients. So you got to really kind of plan on having more help come in to help you as far as the ambulances and things like that. So we talked about that as well when we were doing search and rescue, is how long is it going to take before those other emergency responders come to help you? Because you can be dealing with a lot of people for a while, and you have to be able to take care of all that stuff until the responders get there. We talked about stop the bleed. So that would be, if you have a number of patients that are bleeding profusely from different extremities, applying tourniquets and things like that. And we don't a lot of us don't carry tourniquets. I've got a couple in my truck, but that's, it's what I do. But you could tie a sock on someone's arm to slow down the bleeding that's coming from a large wound or a bullet wound or whatever it may be. So it's thinking outside the box during an emergency that's really going to help you guys kind of help assist with these types of patients. But yeah, you're constantly going over your patients. If you have people that are classified as red, I'd say every 5 minutes you're making contact with those patients and seeing how they're doing. If you have patients that are green or yellow, I'd say probably 15 minutes, you can send someone over there. I mean, someone's always going to be there, but every 15 minutes you want to go through and check on the patients, making sure that they're doing okay. If they start to deteriorate, their RPM starts to go in a different direction, then you can always put them in the immediate area so more people can take care of them. That make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Yep. Have you ever what's the largest mass casualty incident that you've ever taken care of?
So mass casualty is it's different for every department. So a mass casualty is considered to be anything that uses up all of our resources. So here in Oregon, we have 2 ambulances. So at most, we can transport up to 4 people. So any more than 4 people, it's considered a mass casualty for us. So City Madison, they have a lot more ambulances. They can have, probably 50 or 60, well, probably not that many, probably maybe 30 patients, depending upon the number of ambulances that they have. And you got to think that while we have a mass casualty at one area, there's still chest pains and seizures and things like that that are happening that we have to respond to as well. The largest one that I have taken care of was we had a van that was full of people. They were going to a concert. Or no, they were just coming back from a concert and they got into a crash. There was 15 people in the van. They only had seats for 12, but there was 15 people in one van and then there was 4 people in a car. So we had to call in a lot of ambulances to help. But again, the first thing that I was the incident commander, so the EMTs are the first ambulance that got there. Their job wasn't to take care of patients. Their job was to triage them. And it's really hard for the EMTs to jump off the ambulance and not start treating that first person that they come across, right? Because if you see someone that's bleeding, first thing you want to do is hold pressure. The first thing you want to do is help them. But if you stop at that one patient, the other 20 or 19 patients aren't going to get the help that they need, because you need to triage them first and then go back and treat them based on their injuries. This person may have a broken arm and you want to sling it, do everything to make it right. But the person, 6 feet away may have an obstructed airway. They can't breathe. And if you're spending 5 minutes doing slinging this person, if you would open up the airway, they'd have a better chance of surviving. So you're quickly triaging the people. And then after that, based on their triage, you're going to go back and help them.
And
any other question?
In the emergency department, we do the same thing, only it's a different triage system. But we have like a 5-stage triage system. So all emergency nurses have to triage the patients. Like if you ever go to an emergency department and you have to wait in the waiting room, it might be because people who are like in that red area level, they have to be taken care of first. So it's kind of the same thing, only we have a 5-tier system.
Yeah, and at times when I work in the emergency room, sometimes when I'm out in the greeting spot, as people come in, you have to screen them. So we understand that someone that has a broken arm and it's really, really painful, we understand that, but it's hard for the person with a broken arm to understand that someone in the back is probably being taken care of because they're having a heart attack, or they're having a medical or traumatic episode that's a lot worse than what you're dealing with. Not that what you're dealing with isn't important. It's just that people have to realize that ambulances are coming in and they're bringing in some really sick patients. If I went to the hospital one time because I was having problems with my throat, and I waited forever, and I really didn't care. I knew I was going to get seen. It just took a while, and I would rather sit in the waiting room than take up a spot where a kid wanted to come in because our kid was coming in with a lot of different problems, and I took up that room, and now they're not getting taken care of from the ambulance. So they'll get to you. It's just that sometimes you have to wait, but it's hard for people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Anyone else have some questions?
No.
No. Good interaction, everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's tomorrow?
So tomorrow we can do the day in the life of dispatcher, show that video. And then Wednesday that it was med flight.
Yep.
Yep. So next 2 days are going to be pretty exciting. Unfortunately, I was trying to get a hold of the 911 dispatcher here in Dane County to have us come up there and kind of take a tour and talk about, you know, how things work and how calls come in and stuff like that. But I talked to them, and because of COVID, they're not allowing anybody in there because it's such a small. I don't want to say it's a tiny room, but it's a small room with a lot of people. They all have their own desks, their own work areas, and they can't take the risk of people getting sick because their jobs are very important. So what I did is I found a really good video. It's kind of like the next best thing. I've been up at the comm center numerous times, and this video really depicts how, well, it's the exact same thing, but it's in Denver, and it's on someone put together the video out there, and they did a really good job. So it shows the day in the life of a dispatcher, but they work 24 hours, which here in Dane County, I don't think that they work 24-hour shifts. I think the maximum is 12. So.
Yep. I don't know how long they work, but Paul's office used to be in that same building.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that the video's on. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was really excited about that video.
Yeah, I was excited I came across it. It looks really, really good.
Yeah, it is. So Damien might not be able to join us tomorrow. He's got family stuff.
Well, it'll be recorded, so you can definitely look into that.
Yep, we will record it. And it's at 12:30 again tomorrow. And so we'll be on and be ready to go. I need to watch YouTube videos on how to work Zoom.
Well, like I was telling people earlier, we should make a Ready account for just the instructors, and then just give out the passwords so that it doesn't matter who it is, we can log in. The first person there can log in.
Yeah.
And take care of it, and just allow everybody else to come in.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get it figured out, like you said, by the end of the summer.
Yeah, by the end of the summer, we'll figure it out. Just like all of you did with the end of the school year, right? Figured it out, all the online education by the end of the school year. We're learning as we do this. So and hopefully next year we'll be in person. They did Zooms and Google Meets, so they're more techie than we are.
Yeah. I did a lot of the Google Meets, which I enjoyed, but
yeah,
we'll make it work.
Yep, we'll make it work. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us again here today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, if you guys have any questions either on your recruitment or anything with fire, search and rescue, or even this week, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. So you have MJ email address. If you have a question about something, email her. It doesn't matter what time. We'll get the email and we'll answer or address your questions. So
that's right. And tonight I'm going to work on getting all the Amazon gift cards out so far. So anyone who has turned something in, if you don't get a Amazon gift card for it by tomorrow, let me know, okay? Because I may have missed something.
Perfect.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Tom.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thanks, Tom.
Good night.
See you tomorrow.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Yep. Sounds good, Damien. We'll see you Wednesday if you're not able to join us tomorrow. Thank you for including the cat, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Which one is that again?
Which
one?
Bobby.
Bobby?
Bobby.
Bobby's the old one, isn't he?
No.
I should stop recording though.